All of our councillors, all our executive leadership team, as our CEO just explained, General Manager for Commercial and Corporate Services, Carrie, has been taken ill this morning, so she's not with us. We'll have a couple of items that we'll cover for Carrie today. You will notice that Jason has changed shape here beside me, and Tyrone Meredith is in here today and very capably takes the responsibilities for infrastructure today and certainly any questions we might have, so welcome Tyrone as well. Welcome to other officers in the room, and as I said to our streamers who have just joined us, we are all present here as required today, with the apology of Councillor Janice Moriarty, who sought leave of absence previously and was granted. So can someone please move Councillor Moriarty's apology? That's moved by Councillor Brimacombe, seconded Councillor Carpenter. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. We acknowledge on behalf of our communities and our peoples the traditional owners of the land on which we meet here today, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. The other guest in the room today is Pastor Stephen Jench from our Emeralds Lutheran Church, who I suggest may have come off the bench today on a day when football is going to be the talk of many people in our community. This is far more serious than that, and we certainly seek his wise counsel and words this morning. But welcome, Pastor Steve, and you might lead us in prayer. Thank you.
I'm dressed in maroon. I'll begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear friends, when it comes to making sure that I keep my priorities straight and achieve what I need to do each day, I must admit that my methods are still quite old school. In other words, I like working with handwritten lists, and perhaps you may even still do the same. In other words, in my diary, I write a list of everything that I need to do each day. Then if certain of those items are major priorities, I place an asterisk by them. Once I've completed a task, it receives a tick. If any items are lacking a tick at the end of the day, they are obviously incomplete, and so they get transferred to the top of the list for the next day. By using this simple method, I can quickly keep track of how I'm travelling through each day. I swiftly know just from a brief glance if I'm achieving what needs to be done daily. It also reassures me that nothing important is being forgotten or overlooked. It might surprise you, but God also has a list, and you, as a Shire Council, are at the top of it in two ways. Look what the Apostle Paul says in 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 to 4. I urge you, first of all, to pray for all people. Ask God to help them, intercede on their behalf, and give thanks for them. Pray this way for kings and for all others in authority, so that we can live peaceful and quiet lives, marked by godliness and dignity. This is good and pleases God our Saviour, who wants everyone to be saved and to understand the truth. God's first priority in prayer is for everyone. You were thus naturally included there. You are included in the reference to everyone. This is the first way in which you're included. Notice what he says in verse 1. I urge you, first of all, to pray for all people. Ask God to help them, intercede on their behalf, and give thanks for them. But as soon as Paul gets more specific about God's desires, he mentions you, the governing authorities, again. This is the second reference to you. Verse 2 says, Pray this way for kings and for all others in authority, so that we can live in peaceful and quiet lives marked by godliness and dignity. Yes, you need have no doubts that you're at the top of God's list. You are his priority, for you're mentioned twice. This beautiful passage from 1 Timothy 2 also emphasises how much God truly values prayers being said for you. In 1 Timothy 2 verse 3 and 4, the Apostle Paul says, "This is good and pleases God our Saviour, who wants everyone to be saved and to understand the truth." Paul says that this is good. This might seem an understatement to our modern day ears. After all, in our thinking, good is just a bit better than okay or average. But in the Bible, good was the best compliment that you could get. Remember that Psalm 107 verse 1 tells us, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever." Something is only considered good in biblical thinking if, like God, it perfectly fulfills its desired function. Praying for you as a regional council thus isn't just okay or average. It's one of the best things that we can do. It pleases God. Thus, let's do one of God's number one priorities on his list, and let's greatly please him by praying for you, the governing authorities. Lord Jesus, you were born in the small town of Bethlehem and grew up in the rural community of Nazareth. You grew up under the authority of local leaders and officials who manage the majority of your daily life. We lift up our local leaders to you today. We pray for our mayor, our councillors, and all who serve our local community. Strengthen them with wisdom and grace to fulfil the responsibilities they carry. May they manage our region well, and please bless them this morning as they meet. Guide their discussions and bless the decisions which they make. Help us to always remember to support and to encourage them with our prayers. In your holy, precious name we pray, dear Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Stephen. We'll take those old-fashioned ways
Thank you.
very gracefully. Thank you very
God
much.
bless.
All right, councillors, getting back to the business today, I quickly brushed over the opportunity that you might have had for asking for a leave of absence prior. Take that as an indication of my affection for you all, that I want you here all the time, but is there anyone seeking a leave of absence in meetings to come? All good. Well, thank you, councillors. The next agenda item comes back to our confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, and obviously June being a very special time, the first agenda item there, 6.1, relates to the special budget meeting of the 28th of June. That starts, I think, on page 6 of your agendas. Councillors, would someone move those, please, those special minutes? Moved by Councillor Brimble, second to Councillor Burns. Councillors, about 180 pages there. Is everyone happy with those? If you wouldn't mind just giving them your look. As you know, councillors, on that day, it's a very procedural meeting in terms of the resolutions and the special rates and the rates and charges, and there's a number of resolutions that are fairly standard in a budget meeting, but if you wouldn't mind just checking those, please. Okay, if everyone's happy with those, they've been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors, that's carried. Councillors, the second lot of those minutes there today, 6.2, is for our general council meeting of the 28th of June. And as I said, that's about page 189, starting on page 100 on. Someone happy to move those? Moved by Councillor Sypher, seconded Councillor Carpenter. And as the old saying goes, looking. If you could look over those, please. Councillors, that was quite a significant lot of strategies and that were passed that day. A lot of work in those, and we're very, very grateful for certainly the detail that we've been receiving on some of these really important strategies from our team here. Councillors, are you happy with those? They've been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Any business arising out of those minutes, councillors? Either lot? Happy with that? And the review of the outstanding meeting actions there, councillors, are in your agenda. That resolutions register. Any comments or otherwise? There is quite a lot of them there on this occasion. And you can see a lot of it relates to those special budget resolutions, so they'll slowly move off. All right, councillors, upcoming agenda items. There's the opportunity of obviously raising agenda items. There's nothing there. Councillors, you can do that in the normal way. Councillor, any conflict of interest? None that were made known to you, Marnie? No. Any councillor conflicts? And as I said, in any conversation today and discussion, if there's a time that you don't feel or you might think that there may be a perception of conflict or otherwise, we can make it at that. Carrie's hand today from about the Audit Committee meeting minutes. Are you likely to take that report? Who would like to speak to that?
That'll be me, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, yep. Apologies. I'm just finding my page.
No. It'll be the big report.
So the purpose of this report, thank you, Chair, is for to provide a copy to the Council of the confirmed minutes of the Central Highlands Regional Council Audit Committee meeting. This was the meeting held on the 16th of March 2023. This is a procedural item. Recommend that Council receives the recommendation, receives those minutes and notes the actions in the minutes.
All right, thank you. Councillors, well, I'm Councillor Moriarty's an apology today. Councillor Rolfe, you've got nothing to add to those that you're aware of? Sorry, Councillor Brimblecombe?
Just note within the minutes, there's 4 people present, but on any of the motions it's 3-0. So the carrying of motions in there it should be 4-0.
So we can correct that error.
Pardon?
So we'll need to correct that error.
Through the chair, was it not though that one was not a voting member?
They're all members, I think.
Yeah, all the members would be the chair and certainly the committee member.
Committee member.
Petty Shovel and Councillors Rolfe and Moriarty. So any councillor, observer and myself as ex officio are not recorded as votes in the meeting. So it should be 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right then.
If that was in the first instance, I'm just not sure in terms of attendance at that time. The first resolutions were when Councillor Moriarty wasn't in attendance. She did actually, I think from memory.
There's nil apologies. I will.
I'm not sure, Councillor Brimblecombe.
However,
that's well picked up.
It may be the time that Councillor Moriarty arrived at the meeting. It's not.
Okay.
So I'll seek to have that confirmed, and if we can hold that item over to later in the agenda, we can come back to it, Mr. Chair, if you're happy with that.
Well, I think we can adopt them with that resolution anyhow, because that is still a quorum and what am I looking for? And obviously unanimous vote in respect of those in attendance. So we can adopt those with the notification of a change to checking, I guess, the attendance time and subsequent voting at the attendance if it's been recorded at the meeting. So councillor's happy to do that. Councillor Rolfe, sorry, go.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, Mayor. Just a confirmation of who, what time
Yep.
everybody arrived and whether it may have been a carry. But however, even in the confirmation of minutes, it's actually seconded by Councillor Moriarty, so she must have
She
been
must be
there.
in attendance at that time.
Attendance
Yep.
from the beginning. So,
Okay, so I'll confirm that we will make that amendment, which will take as an administrative error, that it indicates 3-0 rather than 4-0, and that's actually carried out through the whole minutes, I
Yeah.
believe, Councillor
Yep, yep.
Brimble-Combe.
Yes, it does.
So,
right to the-
if we could ask your indulgence and apologise for that administrative error, and I will ensure that that's corrected in the minutes.
Mayor, can I just comment on, from
Yes,
that meeting?
yeah,
It was
yeah, Councillor Rolfe.
the first meeting for the new external director, Peter Cheval. So it was his first meeting, which was, it went very well. It was a good meeting. Thank you.
And it'd be fair to say, as a general comment, there has been some discussion, certainly with the Queensland Auditor's Office report to the State Parliament. Concern still for local government in Queensland that don't have audit committees or appointed audit committees, and there are still some. And I suspect that there will be a bit of a concerted effort, I think, certainly by the department to ensure or to encourage a little more firmly that there is, I guess, a more, I suppose, concerted effort to make sure that every local government has some audit oversight where possible. There are some, I understand there are some problems with that, but certainly if you read the QAO report, there is not, I'm not flagging a red flag here, but there is concerns about certainly the timing of certainly returns and audit results for local governments in Queensland. And obviously the oversight of an audit committee is certainly an appropriate and a very welcome check and balance to the operations of local government. So we've been very fortunate with our chairs and certainly our independent members here that over the number of years that we've had our audit committee, that they've actually performed a terrific task for council, and they continue to be a great fillip to I guess risk and awareness certainly of our practices within our council, so we're very grateful for that. Councillor, is someone happy to move those with that, certainly that acknowledgement of the change to those minutes? Moved by Councillor Rolfe, seconded by Councillor Brimble-Combe. All in favour? Against? IPWEA Queensland and Northern Territory Regional Branch Conference. That will be a very, very short discussion because I think we've been informed this morning, Tyrone, that that conference has been cancelled.
Correct.
Correct. So as an agenda item, councillors, we won't deal with that today. So sorry to take that responsibility away from you, Tyrone, which in the keeping of dealing with conferences, the next agenda item 12.5 sits under the Chief Executive Officer, Sharon, and that is in relation to the Australian Local Government Association National Local Roads Transport Infrastructure Congress, and then certainly the Local Government Association of Queensland Conference. But the first matter, which will be the ALGA National Roads Conference, I'll hand over to you, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Australian Local Government Association 2023 National Local Roads and Transport Congress is being held in Canberra this year from the 5th to the 7th of September. This report's purpose is just to determine councillors' attendance at this conference, if any, as is our normal process. In relation to that conference, the theme this year is building communities that are safer, stronger and smarter, very relevant to road network, which is so important to our communities. The The content is practical and quite technical in relation to this conference, and it usually includes a technical tour as well. I understand the Mayor and Deputy Mayor have expressed interest in attending the conference. Just noting, Councillor Rolfe is the current chair of the Bowen Basin Regional Roads Transport Group and also a representative on Local Government Association of Queensland's Road and Transport Advisory Group. At this point, either the Chief Executive Officer or the General Manager, Infrastructure and Utilities will be attending the conference subject to councillors' requirements in that regard.
All right, thank you, CEO. Can I just add to this? You'll note, councillors, that this is actually to be held in Canberra. They've made, the Australian Local Government Association has made a determination that previously the National Roads Congress used to travel around the countryside from state to state. They've decided this year that I think that they would rather, for lots of practical purposes in terms of logistics and certainly the strength of their advocacy from these forums, that they will have them in Canberra. There was some conversations down there around certainly this is a conference I don't usually attend, but there has been discussion around certainly our beef corridors work this year and some interesting news that's just come up in the last few days, and certainly Councillor Rolfe as chair of the local, our regional roads transport group would be, I suppose, eminently qualified to attend that. So, councillors, the recommendation is for myself, the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, Christine, to attend. And I'm just wondering, councillors, is that enough councillors attending? I think, given that there might be officers that may attend, I think so, councillors. So if councillors were happy to endorse that, someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Cypher, seconded Councillor Carpenter. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. So that brings us to then the Local Government Association of Queensland, and very, very proud to say that it's going to be very close to us at Gladstone. Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. The Local Government Association of Queensland's 127th Annual Conference 2023 is being held in Gladstone, 16 to 18 October 2023. As per normal process, this report to Council is to determine Council's attendance at the conference. To just make a couple of comments, so obviously the local government, this is the peak annual conference for the Local Government Association of Queensland, which is the peak body for all of local government in Queensland, and we are a member along with all of our other councils in Queensland. This conference provides opportunity not just for knowledge gathering and to put motions in relation to items that we feel as a council are important to advocate on. It's also an opportunity to speak with other councils and councillors and council officers and policy executive members about LGAQ's work and advocacy on behalf of all councils. It is the final conference before council elections in March next year, the quadrennial elections, and so it is a great opportunity for the sector to look back on the 4-year term that has been. The program is attached. Is that correct? Yes. Yep. Sorry, just checking. And I ask for who you would like to attend the conference this year as a matter of the purpose of this report.
Yep, thanks, CEO. And councillors, obviously this is a really unique opportunity that the Local Government Association Conference is going to be held in Gladstone, which is an easy task for us, certainly logistically. So, councillors, the recommendation there is for the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor to attend. And councillors, is councillors interested in attending? Councillor Brimblecombe, Councillor Cruz. Perfect. All councillors, is someone happy to move those delegates? Moved by Councillor Rolfe, seconded Councillor Burns. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors. Well, Councillor Cruz, you're about to experience the rest of them, the other 500 and 800 or whatever it is. But certainly it's very good support to our colleagues over at Gladstone that we show good councillor support at their conference. Councillors, the next item relates to obviously the business of that conference is 12.5.3, which is a call for motions. And I guess that sits with you, CEO, and world's greatest motion writer, Millie, is in attendance, I see. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're looking here, councillors, as the purpose of this council report is endorsement from council in relation to motions that we propose to submit to the Local Government Association of Queensland's annual conference. There are 8 motions that are there as part of the recommendation and that you have had an opportunity to review. So the call for motions, as you know, happens each year leading up to the annual conference. This is a really important way that council, through its peak body, the LGAQ, advocates for change that we think is needed to make our services better or more efficient, or to remove problems and issues from that get in the way of carrying out our important community services. I'll hand over to Millicent Bradley-Woods, our Principal Projects Officer, to summarise the motions that are proposed to be put up to the conference. Thanks.
Thank you, CEO. And through the Chair, the 127th LGAQ Annual Conference will be held between the 16th and the 18th of October in Gladstone, as the CEO has outlined. As councillors are aware, the annual conference provides councils across Queensland with an opportunity to put forward advocacy priorities which are of statewide relevance. Motions are due to be submitted by the 9th of August. Officers are seeking endorsement today in relation to 8 motions. Those motions include Motion 1, which is a call for a review of the water and wastewater service delivery model in regional, rural and remote Queensland. This is a matter which has long been considered by the Productivity Commission quite extensively in its 2011 report, as well as a number of reports since that time, and was the subject of workshopping by the Queensland Water Directorate with a number of industry stakeholders in 2017. This motion is supported by the Queensland Water Directorate. Motion number 2, which is a call for postponement of changes to the Clean Earth exemption under the Waste Reduction and Recycling Act, and for the state government to develop and commercialise an alternative solution to day cover in the interim. As councillors are familiar, council is required to apply Clean Earth to the tip face in order to comply with its environmental authority obligations and to mitigate against environmental or health impacts to comply with the guideline for landfill siting design, operation and rehabilitation. The state government's proposal to remove the Clean Earth exemption will result in significant costs for local governments, as Clean Earth would then be leviable under the Waste Reduction and Recycling Act. The draft motion outlines the potential financial impact on council. Motion 3, which is a call for a change to the administration of the Emergency Management Levy. The Fire and Emergency Services Act currently requires what is effectively a separate rating process with physical investigation of each individual property. This is a time-consuming exercise required to be carried out largely at coordinator level and is administered by the state, and the motion calls upon this to be administered by the state in a way that does not increase cost to ratepayers in a manner similar to the South Australian system. Motion 4 within the report is similar to the motion submitted to the recent ALGA NGA, which is a call for the state government to provide funding for council to reduce its operational emissions. This motion will provide additional weight to the motion submitted by Rockhampton Regional Council at the 2022 LGAQ Annual Conference. Motion 5, which is a call for a requirement for mandatory consultation with local government to be introduced where state government policy or legislative change will impact upon local government. Motion 6 then, which is a call for the state government to incentivise development of facilities to beneficially reuse recyclable waste. This motion will have an indirect benefit for council by reducing the gate fee payable at MRFs. Otherwise known as materials recovery facilities. The reason being is that commodity basket inputs are a standard input into the gate fee payable by council per tonne of recyclable waste at materials recovery facilities, and therefore this would reduce the gate fee payable. Motion 7, which is a call for the state government to introduce urgency criteria to assess freeholding applications, which would speed up the process for tenure to which freeholding processes apply under the Land Act. Property Services have advised that this process has taken 2 years for freeholding of the land at the water treatment plant at Dingo. Motion 8, which is a call for the state government to introduce and publicise a consistent and ongoing statewide recycling program in order to and in order to ensure consistency with the LGAQ policy position, as pointed out by a councillor, it suggested that the wording of this motion as proposed within the report is slightly amended in the manner highlighted by the Executive Assistant to the Mayor and Councillors to include the words, in addition to supporting community education undertaken by local governments, the LGAQ calls on the state government to support resource recovery and circular economy principles by developing, introducing and publicising a consistent and ongoing statewide recycling program that ensures that the LGAQ policy position that the state government will support local government in its education campaigns can occur at the same time as a statewide education campaign. So I'll take the content of the motions and the background as read, and we'll now hand over to councillors for any questions and deliberation.
Thank you, Millie, and thank you, Councillor Daniels, for the consideration of that other motion, and it's well considered. Councillors, Councillor Rolfe.
Mayor, just on that last motion 8, reading through the Waste Management and Resource Recovery Strategy Review Report from LGAQ and their submission, just reading on page 10 of that report in their recommendation 7, I thought that it would be remiss of me if I didn't ask that that our motion be more aligned with that recommendation from our peer group. So having come through CHRC as well, so that was the reason for me asking for that to be added.
Yep,
Thanks, Mayor.
So that's the consideration you've made?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct, and we thank Councillor Rolfe for bringing that to our attention.
Yep. All right, councillors, any other queries, comments? Well, councillor, I'm not sure just how many motions there will be this year. I guess at some point, Millie, when is it they close?
Through the chair, the 9th of August.
9th of August, and that's why we brought this report to the meeting today, to have those ratified.
Yes, we unfortunately don't have a general council meeting in the interim.
Right. So, councillors, the recommendation is there that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that we endorse those following motions to be submitted to the LGAQ 2023 annual conference. Is someone happy to move those? Moved by Councillor Brimelcombe, seconded by Councillor Carpenter. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors. That is carried. Thank you, Millie. Thank you, CEO. Councillors, I would be happy, Arun, were you planning on doing your financial report here now, if that's all right? Councillor, I think just we consider our financial report now, I think in terms of our decision reports. Under our Chief Financial Officer, Arun Diaz, our monthly financial report. Thank you.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Good morning, councillors. The finance report is tabled for council to adopt the monthly finance report for June 2023. Councillors, I would like to qualify the results presented in this report as interim results. As per the standard process for end of financial year, the financial results presented in this finance report are subject to change. The end of year processes generally get finalised towards the end of July. The draft financial statements are then presented to the audit committee for auditing by the Queensland Audit Office. As such, the results are subject to change pending the completion of the external audit, which concludes in late October. As we progress to finalise the annual financial statements, we can expect the operating expenditure and capital expenditure to change and increase. This is to account for work completed in June, but invoiced in July. These adjustments have a direct impact on the operating surplus and the capital expenditure presented in the finance report. The financial results presented in this finance report are therefore interim results. I will also be very brief, councillors. I'll take the report as read in my presentation and I'll touch on some salient points of the report, given some numbers are subject to change. Councillors, looking at the big picture, the operating surplus for the year currently sits at $10 million. This is because operating income has exceeded budget by 1.4 million, but the lion's share of that change is currently sitting under the operating expenditure, because operating expenditure is currently reported as $9 million under budget. The reasons for the high operating surplus is as follows. The increase in operating income is caused by increased use in the Resource Recovery Centre and increase in passenger numbers at the Emerald Airport. The financial assistance grant and the prepayment component was paid to Council in June. Council budgeted 75% of the prepayment component for its revenue for last financial year. However, Council received 100% of the prepayment component in the financial assistance grant. Moving on to expenditure, employee costs have decreased by 1.5 million for the year. This was mainly due to staff vacancies and reduction in staff training and travel costs. However, the most significant reduction in operating expenditure was materials and services, which has decreased by $7 million, which is largely contributing to the huge surplus, councillors, as presented in the report. As we continue to finalise the end-of-year accounting processes, we expect the operating expenditure presented in this report to increase. Moving on to capital expenditure, the capital expenditure is currently sitting at $43 million against a budget of $53 million, which is 82% of the budget. Cash of $110 million includes the recently drawdown of $10 million in borrowings. Business activity results for airport, sail yards, waste and water are in line with budgets. In particular, the airport and the waste business have generated surpluses above the expected budget. Financial sustainability ratios are in line with the required targets of financial performance. The reported asset sustainability ratio currently falls short of the required target of 90%. However, it is expected to increase as more capital expenditure on asset renewals is recognized. The asset sustainability ratio in particular is a ratio which is best judged over a long period, which generally is over 5 years, given the long-term nature of infrastructure assets as opposed to any one particular or individual financial year. Rates outstanding is currently sitting at $6.7 million and outstanding water charges are at $2.6 million. The number of in-house prepayment arrangements have decreased from 620 reported at the end of April to 470 at the end of June. Councillors, this concludes the presentation of the finance report. The report recommends that Council adopts the monthly finance report for the period ending 30th of June 2023. And happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Arun. All I can say is 8 weeks is a long time in the world of finance. It just highlights the variability and the flexibility that's required in budgeting in local government. And I guess we have been great advocates for wanting something a little more consistent. Let's hope that that happens. But certainly, I just want to commend the team for, I guess, providing the level of information they've provided to make sure that we can keep a track where these things are unders and overs. And certainly, it is pleasing to see certainly the return in some of certainly the business operations and making sure that where there's a self-sustaining aspect to those. Obviously, a wild ride in the last 2 months. So, councillors, Councillor Roth.
The increase in in-house capacity and reforecasting of projects, and they've been quite a favourable variance there. So in expenditure, so yeah, good on them. That's Work well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roll. Councillors, any other questions? It's times like these we need Councillor Moriarty, don't we? But councillors, you can see through the kind of the business units there that certainly there's been some a good, as I said, a good performance there. And as Arun says, there'll be still that lag effect that certainly will be captured certainly in the audit process and the presentation of the final draft figure, or the final figures rather than these drafts. So it's pleasing to be starting here. I think councillors, you'll recall the loss of the RPC works and opportunities this year certainly changed the environment quite substantively. So to that change, the full payment of the financial assistance grants, it highlights that, certainly in amounts of, $3 to $5 million in a couple of decisions can be quite crucial to balancing our books. So I'm very pleased to say we're on the right side of this on this occasion. There has been years where that has not been the situation. So, Councillor Sypher.
Thank you. I'll just take this opportunity to ask a question not totally related to the report, but we have some outstanding rural rates that are under review, under question. And I'm just wondering, because a number of those people are still calling me, and I am handing your number on to them. I'm just wondering, are we continuing to communicate and work through the issues of these notices that are under question?
Yes. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Sypher, yes, there is a little bit of a backlog in terms of progressing the investigations in terms of the succession planning. However, we are keeping the ratepayers informed that there is a backlog a little bit. Most ratepayers are aware of it, and we're trying to clear them out and prioritising them as soon as we can, Councillor.
So not all of them are related to succession planning?
That's true, Councillor
Yes.
Sypher. Some are completely different, some are just valuation changes, and some are related to succession planning and also to valuation changes, which just makes Councillor Sypher the investigation a little bit more intense, if so to speak.
Yes.
The investigation has to be thorough.
So we are trying to keep communicating with these people, because the message I'm getting is that getting information from council is a struggle, and that's why they're contacting me. So
No.
even if it's just a phone call to say, we haven't forgotten you.
Yes.
And the question is, why is there such a backlog? I know we've just finished doing a budget process, but this is outstanding money to council, and these people are willing to pay once their issues are sorted out. It's not as if they don't want to pay their rates. There's issues around their notices, and I will trust that you are trying your hardest to get these sorted.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely,
you.
Councillor Sypher, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Sypher. Councillor Daniels.
Thank you. It's just a minor thing in the report, just the water arrears by community. You're missing the key there. I was trying to work out what's happening there, so just pointing it out there. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor Daniels. All right, councillors, that recommendation is there that we adopt that monthly financial report for the year ended 30 June 2023. So I'm happy to move that. Moved by Councillor Carpenter, seconded Councillor Burns. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. All right, councillors, that's how to say thank you, Arun. Councillors, that would then take us to General Manager John and Communities, which is 14.2.1, which is our record of proceeding of the Sport and Active Recreation Advisory Group from the 14th of March. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Emma. Yep.
Good morning, councillors. This is a procedural motion, councillors, but this report is around the presenting the record of proceedings for the Sport and Active Recreation Advisory Group, which was held on the 14th of March 2023, and I'll hand over to Emma Tierney, our Sport and Recreation Coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, GM McDougall. Through the Chair, I'm here today to present the records of proceeding from the Sport and Active Recreation Advisory Group first meeting of 2023 that was held on the 14th of March. The records were reviewed and confirmed by the advisory group at the most recent meeting, which was the 21st of June. The Sport and Active Recreation Advisory Group includes representation from councillors, senior staff and community members. The purpose of these meetings is to give residents and representatives from the community, sporting clubs and associations, as well as industry experts, the opportunity to provide feedback to council. In return, the group provides guidance and recommendations on relevant matters to the strategic direction of sport and active recreation in the region. This report presents a record of proceedings for the Sport and Active Recreation Advisory Group to be received by Central Highlands Regional Council as required under our terms of reference. If there is any questions in relation to those records, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Emma. And Councillor Carpenter, anything to add? If your memory recollects back too much, yeah.
The only thing I would like to say is that I'd like to see the minutes of this meeting earlier come to council quicker, because we've still got one meeting. We're lagging one meeting, and I would like to think that we can get them through between our meetings so that they come here fresh.
Through the chair, look, very happy to do that. We are sort of getting a consistent process internally for how we deal with these things. So you'll be aware, councillors, that go up with governance, and I certainly say I've dropped the ball there to get that advice. So that's fine. If we would like to go that way, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, councillors. Any other comments, queries on the?
Just to thank you, but it's good to see that the group are really wanting to get out there and talk to the clubs and are offering quite a wide variety of things to help the clubs. So it was just really, we need to encourage the use of those opportunities.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you.
Councillor Rolfe.
Through Mayor, on page, what are we on page? 527, number 4 of recommendation from the Sport and Open Space Plan, and the query from Councillor Carpenter if a request could be put in 2 years in advance for community grants event support. Is that, Emma, can you?
Yeah. So as you would have all seen, we have just rolled out the new sponsorship process.
Yep.
So that allows clubs to apply 12 months in advance rather than 2 years in advance, because we run that on a budget, each financial year's budget. So we are talking to community groups. So if they are receiving some of those state or national events that are awarded prior to that, working with them in other partnerships, if it's not sponsorship, if it's on council land, and what other ways we can help them. But as soon as that 12 months hits, they can put in a formal sponsorship application.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea, isn't it? Because leading up to, I know there's clubs down Springshaw that are getting, inquiries now about lead up to Olympics. So, it's going to happen. So
yeah,
it's a good idea. Thanks.
Councillor Cruz.
Just through the chair, and apologies, this may already be happening or asked. Just with regards sponsorship or in-kind donations and stuff like that, is that is being accurately recorded so that, council can, like whether it be, whether it be through, electrical, energy, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
that's all.
Through the chair, so in the past 12 months, we have been accurately recording across council the level of sponsorships, whether that's cash or in kind. Now we have also rolled out the new process through Smarty grants, so clubs will have to apply rather than seeking sponsorship through like an email or a letter. I have just last week received the end of financial reports for last financial year for the sponsorship and donations. So I have the briefing note that will be coming to councillors in the next week or so with those final figures from financial year.
Thank you.
Just to clarify through the chair though, there are still some costs which we are unable to attribute to individual clubs, and one of those is, in some situations, electricity, for instance, where individual metering hasn't occurred in some of those scenarios. So that just so that you're aware that there is still some costs that are being borne by council that are not going to clubs at this point in time.
Thank you.
All right, councillors, any other questions? Obviously, with the tenure update, I guess there are basically, discussions that are quite peculiar to each of those places now. So more broadly, you've got working tenure arrangements now with most of your clients, I guess you'd say. Thanks, Emma. All right, councillors, well, certainly the recommendation is there that we receive those record of proceedings. Is someone happy to move those? Moved by Councillor Carpenter, seconded. Councillor Burns, all in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors, that's carried. Thank you very much, Emma. Councillors, I think CEO, you might take over Carrie's responsibilities in relation to the record of proceedings for that community consultation at Gindi on the 17th of May.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So, as you've just indicated, this item is just for council to receive the record of proceedings from the Gindi community consultation, which was held at the Gindi Tennis Club on the 17th of May and are attached to the report. There were no actions received for logging as a customer request in that meeting.
Thank you, CEO Houlihan. Good morning, councillors. Through the chair, as the CEO has indicated, the report this morning presents to you the record of proceedings for the Gindi community consultation that was held at the Gindi Tennis Club on the 17th of May. There was very strong community engagement at this consult with 17 members of the public in attendance. A number of important topics were discussed on the night, including rural addressing and proposed amendments to council's planning scheme, among other things. I'll now pass over for any questions or comments.
Yep. Thank you, Rachel, as well. And I guess as a comment there, it's interesting because the Gindi consultation, and you'll see from the attendance list, through, I guess, a strange delineation of that particular consultation area, we had quite a few landholders from certainly west of Emerald towards the Gemfields, to Anarchy rather, and that's their kind of designated consultation area, which is fine, and as long as they're happy to travel there. And so we had a couple of really good discussions there about certainly the still the overlay, the tourism precinct overlay that's been discussed for a little while now, and certainly a continuing discussion about rural rates that went hand in hand with sort of a discussion around certainly the rural overlay. But it was just interesting that a couple of them said, well, this is our community consultation location, and whether or not, in some cases, we don't necessarily, we have an opportunity in Anarchy as well. So I don't know how we actually define the areas for our community consultation, but in a sense, their area of interest is not necessarily Gindi. It was probably more on the western side. So it was an interesting mix of people. So, Councillor Rolfe.
Thanks, Mayor. To start with, right at the beginning, I know Mrs. Daniels was definitely Stella, but I wonder whether Stella, as in Stellar, is the right spelling. I'm not sure.
It's not. Rachel, if you could just make that note, please.
But for a road user group meeting, I thought we actually discussed, maybe Tyrone, you can answer this, discuss having a road user group meeting down the old Kalandaringa Road.
Yeah, I think on the, what was it, the
western
side of the Gregory Highway rather than the southern side. We tend to go on the southern side a bit.
So that may have been after the meeting point, that needed to be brought forward, please.
Yeah.
Through the chair, yeah, received that feedback.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thanks, Tyrone. Councillors, any other observations? All right, well, thank you. Councillors, the recommendation is there that we receive those record of proceedings from the Guindy Community Consultation at the Guindy Tennis Club. Is someone happy to move those? Moved by Councillor Burns, second by Councillor Brimblecombe. All in favour? Against? Thank you, councillors, that's carried. Thank you very much, Rachel. Councillors, unless I'm mistaken, and unless Marnie or the CEO has something that's come up really urgently, that is our order of business today. Councillor, just general business, if there are any from individual councillors? Councillor Carpenter.
It's not really a business item, but while we've got Tyrone, Tyrone, is it possible to restart the road user group meetings? And have you got a plan for that? I'm keen to go, but we haven't really seen anything yet.
Through the chair, we have a draft schedule prepared in line with our works program for the next financial year. So I'll release that shortly. It was just to try and time the road user group meetings before the packages have worked so that we could hit the areas with a little bit of momentum. So we've got that in place now, just bedding down the details. And then, yeah, I would like to release the draft program very shortly.
Thanks, Tyrone. Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, just public acknowledgement and thank you to a member of our community who 9 years ago decided it wasn't a bad idea to marry a man wearing a kilt. So I'd just like to thank my wife.
I'm glad that wasn't an order of business, Councillor Burns, in case we had to vote on that, because that could have been embarrassing. But no, that's you're a very romantic man, Councillor Burns. But thank you for that acknowledgement. I'm sure that if Monica is watching, that she might. All right, I think you want to cut your losses, Councillor Burns, I reckon. But anyhow, councillors, are there any other general business? If there is none, I'll declare our meeting closed at 10:05 a.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, officers. Thank you, Tyrone and CEO, for standing in for some of our crew. And thank you, officers.